Okay, so today we will see the next 5 question of the GCP PD exam, the sample questions which is available on the examtopics.com website. So we will see the question number 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. So before starting the video, I want to confirm that whatever the answer I will share with you, it is based on my knowledge, as per my understanding, and as per the solution given on this website, and as per the discussion community. But we all may be wrong, so I would suggest you can go through the official documentation to find the answer if you think that the particular answer might be wrong, and you can share the answer with us as well. Okay, so the first question is, your weather app queries a database every 15 minutes to get the current temperature. So we have created a one app, and that issues some queries on a database after every 15 minutes to get the current temperature. Okay, the front end is powered by the Google App Engine. Okay, so the front end application resides on the Google App Engine. So Google App Engine is basically a service, and server millions of users. So I think this is wrong, it should be the serve millions of users. So basically our app is being used by the millions of users. How should you design the front end to respond to a database failure? So they told that as our app is issuing a query after every 15 minutes, and the millions of users are using this our app, and let's suppose if there is a database failure, how we will design the front end? Because if the database get failed, right, and we did not design the front end in a such a way, then what will happen? The millions of user came and give a retry and to see the temperature, and it will impact our app, and it might break our application as well, right? So what we will actually do? So they have given 4 options. Let's see which option we should eliminate and which is the correct option. So the first option is issues a command to restart the database server. Okay, so the first option says that if we have the database failure, let us suppose the database unable to respond, so they told that just issues a command to restart the database server. So this is not the correct option, because in the question it is not mentioned that whether the server is down or what is the failure, and how they can how we can assume that whether just by issuing a command the database server will be get restarted, right? So this is not the correct answer. And okay, the second thing is that retry the query with exponential backoff up to a cap of 50 minutes. Just leave the option because this is the correct option. I will come back after going through the option number C and D. So now come to the option number C, retry the query every second until it come back online to minimize the stateness of data. So they told that, let me open the notepad. They told that these are the users, let's suppose, and the user are accessing our weather app, and weather app are accessing a database, and database is in the failed condition. So they told that, so design the application in such a way so application automatically retry the query every second until it come back online. So they told that if there is a failure, what will happen? This app retry the query every second until the database come back. So definitely it will work, but what is the problem in this scenario? In this scenario, we are querying the database every, okay, the first second we like query the database and we got the failed response, then again like we, the next second we will again query the database, again we will get the failed response, then third second we will like again query the database, again we will get the failed response, and we will like retry it every second. So if we retry like it every second, like we are creating a network congestion. So in this way, so the network congestion is a like we are creating a network congestion problem. So maybe like we will like stop the network, one more issue like might be we will create, right? So this is not this will work, but this will not like recommended to retry like every after every second, because this will create a network congestion problem. The fourth, so first is wrong, third is also wrong. Third will work, but we will not go with, we can't go with this because it will create a network congestion. But first is definitely wrong. So now go with the option number 4. Reduce the query frequency to once every hour until the database come back online. So shall we wait till 1 hour even after our problem might be like resolve within the 5 minutes? No, na. So this is also like again the incorrect option, like reduce the query frequency to like every hour. So this is even not the correct option. The correct option is retry the query with the exponential backoff up to cap of 15 minutes. So first we need to understand the what is the exponential backoff. So exponential backoff is a one kind of algorithm, then how it will work, let me show you. So exponential backoff, how it works. So this is the app, this is the database. So app, what will app do is at the first second it will query the database to check whether the database is online or not. It get the failed response, then it will the next it will like increase a count, increase a wait count by 1 second. That is now after 2 seconds it will query, not after the 1 second. That is, it will wait for 2 seconds and then it will retry. Let's suppose again it will get the failed response. So the next query it will retry after the 3 seconds. That is, it will first wait for the 3 seconds after the failed response, then it will retry, and here it will wait for the 2 seconds after the failed response from the first, and it will wait for the 2 seconds. So similarly, if again it will get the failed response, then it will wait for 4 seconds, then it will retry. Let's suppose if it again get the failed response, now it will wait 5 seconds and then it will retry. So we are increasing the wait time exponentially. So that's why it is called the exponential backoff algorithm. So it says that retry the query with the exponential backoff up to a cap of 15 minutes. So that we will try till 15 minutes. So let me reveal the answer. So answer is B, that is the retry the query with exponential backoff. If you go to the discussion community, most of the people, even almost all the people says that like the correct answer is B. Okay, and if I go to the official documentation as well, so where is the official documentation? Exponential. So this is the exponential backoff. This is the official documentation on the cloud.google.com. So it is saying that if your application attempts to connect to the database, the same question which we have, and does not succeed, okay, the database could be temporarily unavailable. So it could be the reason that database could be in this case, what we have to do, sending too many simultaneous connection requests might waste additional database resources and increase the time needed to recovery, and it also increase the network congestion. So like they said that we need to retry the query every second. This is not recommended. So sending too many simultaneously connection requests might waste additional database resources. It will consume so many resources as well. It will like take time, so this is not recommended. But using the exponential backoff prevent your application from sending an unresponsive number of connections. So if we use the exponential backoff methodology, that is, if we get the failure response from the database, let's wait for 1 second and then retry. Then again, if we like get the failed response, then increase the waiting time. Now we wait for the 2 seconds and then we will try. Then again we will get the failed response, then again we will increase our waiting time. So this time we will wait for the 3 seconds, or it depends upon the number. Might be we will wait for the 1 minute, might be we will wait for the 5 minutes, and 5 minutes, then 10 minutes, then 15 minutes. So it's up to you. It is up to us, like how we will design the application. So the correct answer is we need to use the exponential backoff methodology. So if we use the exponential in this way, like we are not sending so many requests to the database, right? And we know like the user like this like application like fetch the database like after 15 minutes. So we will retry using the exponential backoff only. So let me show you one more. So it is the retry technology. So as part of the exponential, so make a request. So here we have using the cloud storage example. So it could be anything, it could be any database. So if the request fail, wait 1 second and then random number millisecond, wait for 2 and then random number millisecond, wait for this. So we are like increasing the time exponentially, like 2 ki power n. Alright, so this is the exponential backoff. So correct answer is the retry the query with exponential backoff. Second question is, you are creating a model. So this question related to the machine learning. You are creating a model, okay, to predict housing prices. So we need to predict the housing price. So due to budget constraint, you must run your application on a resource constrained virtual machine. So we have a budget constraint, so we are running on a single virtual machine, and that is a resource constraint. So might be like we have only 1 CPU, and might be we have only 2 GB RAM or 4 GB RAM only. So like, so it mentioned like which algorithm we will use. Okay, let's go one by one. So shall we use linear regression? Yes, we will use the linear regression. Linear regression is the correct algorithm, because we need to predict the housing prices. So if we have to predict the housing prices, means like the housing prices could be like 50,000 INR. So housing prices could be 60,000 INR, it could be 80,000 INR, it could be 1 lakh INR, right? So it is a variable number. So when we have to predict some numerical number, some variable number, so we will always use the linear regression model. Logistic regression, like we generally use in the classification problem, whether the example of classification program is whether the let's suppose if the person apply for the credit card, right, whether the bank will approve the credit card or not. So that is that like binary classification program, that is yes or no. So let's suppose the other example is, let's suppose we give one email, so whether that email is of a cat or a dog or a monkey, right? So that is the classification problem. So that is, we have a set of classes, and out of those classes we have to classify. So that is the classification program. So but we will use the linear regression. No, logistic regression is not the 1 minute. Logistic regression, yeah, logistic is the classification model only. So and third thing is the recurrent neural network, and fourth is the feed forward neural network. We will not use third and the fourth option, because in the question, because we know when we apply the neural network now, we need very high CPU, right? So because we will create so many like layers, and we need the like the CUDA, maybe the GPUs, right? We can run the like neural network model on the CPU as well, but it will run very slow. So generally, like, it is recommended to use the GPU for the, but here it is mentioned that we have the like single resource, and that is a resource constrained virtual machine. So we will not use this. So we will use the linear regression. So correct answer is A, and most of the people in the discussion community tab says that correct answer is A. So now go to the question number 8. So question number 8 said that you are building a new real-time data warehouse. Okay, we have to create a data warehouse. Okay, for our company. Okay, and we will use the Google BigQuery. Okay, so that is perfectly okay, because BigQuery is a type of warehouse only. So if we are using if we have to create the warehouse, so we will use the Google BigQuery only. That is perfectly okay, but there is no guarantee. So like if we have to create a warehouse, so as part of the warehouse, and we will use the Google BigQuery, so we have to create a data set, and inside the data set we have to create a table, and inside the table we will insert the data. So the next line says that there is no guarantee that the data will be sent in a once, but they have to unique ID for each row of data and event timestamp. Okay, so they are saying that we are inserting some data into the BigQuery, but there is no guarantee that whether the data will be sent once, or whether the data will be sent in some chunks, right? But we have some unique ID for each row and an event timestamp, and there is a timestamp tagged for each row. Okay, you want to ensure that the duplicates are not included while interactive querying data. So once the databases get created, how we can, and we will like query the data, and how we will make sure that we should like while querying the data we should not like query the duplicate records. So these are the four options. So I found a very best explanation of this video. If you like go to this channel, that is the Awesome GCP, so this person like explain this question like very nicely. So let me explain you. So 1 minute. Yeah, so what our question said, suddenly got hanged. Exit full screen. I am in the cinema mode. Yeah, so the first option is, shall we use the order by and on the timestamp column and limit to 1. So whether this is correct or not, because like we have created a data warehouse. Okay, and we have created the data warehouse on the Google BigQuery. Okay, and we have like insert the data, and we know like the data is not inserted at once, so there could be like a multiple rows and have the multiple timestamps. So but we need to ensure that while querying the data, while interactively querying the data, in the output the duplicate should not be included. So which query out of 4 like we should use? So so our data is basically in this way. So we have like some data, like we have like unique row like ID1, and we have the timestamp associated with it, right? And with we have data. So ID1 1020, so this come at 1020. So ID1 it's come at 1020. So ID2 it's come at 1021. ID3 it's come at 1023. And what output we want, like if we query the data, so the output should be 123. So that is the ID number 1, and the timestamp 1020 should not be repeated, right? So if you go to the first option, yeah, so if you go to the first option, okay, so they told that what we will do, we will order by timestamp on a timestamp column and limit to 1. So let's see whether this will, so if this is the our database. So they told that order by timestamp, so we will order by timestamp. So we will like 1023 is on the top, then 1021, then 1020, then 20, then limit to 1. If we use the limit to 1, then we will, in the output we will see only one record, right? But we have to see all the records, like, but there should not be the duplicate. But if we use this query, that is the order by descending on timestamp column and limit to 1, what will be the output? Only one row. So this is the incorrect answer. So it is mentioned here desk, but it should be the descending. So the second option is use group by on the unique ID column and timestamp column and sum on the values. So let's see if we use this query whether we will get our required output or not. So they told that, 1 minute, yeah, so they told that we need to use the group by. So group by on the unique ID. So one rows will came together, then all the 2 rows came together, then all the 3 rows came together, right, on the unique ID and the timestamp. Okay, fine. And then we need to sum on the values. Sum on the values means like the value is on the data. So if we do the sum on the values, what will be the output? 1 2 3, we get all the 3 rows. But why we are doing the sum? So it doesn't make any sense, right? We need the unique ID, that is a 1 10 20 and 10. But if we do the sum, then 10 and 10 become 12. So there is no need to use the aggregate function, right? So option 2 is also wrong. So if we see the third option, like use the lag window function with the partition by unique ID along with the where lag is not null. So before understanding, like before choosing whether this answer is deciding whether this answer is correct or wrong, we should aware about the lag window function. So these are the window functions. So in C and D option, like they are using some window function. Here they are using the row number window function and they are using the lag window function. So let's see. You can go through this particular video. So it is a very nice video. So okay, so the lag window function, let me Google it. Lag window. So lag window function that allows you to look back a number of rows and access data of that row from the current row. So what it will do is it will like look at the previous row, right? So they told that use the lag window function. So as part of the lag window and partition by the unique ID. So first we need to partition by the unique ID. Okay, we will create 3 partitions on the basis of the ID. Okay, so first ID, like ID number 1 partition is different, ID number 2 partition is different, ID number 3 partition is different, right? So okay, partition is okay. Now they told that we need to use the lag function, lag window function, and the query is where lag is not null. So what lag function did is it will look at the previous row, and if the previous row is not null, then it will like display the current row. So if we go to the like row number 1, so its previous row is null, so it will not display this. Okay, row number 2, so what it will do is like the previous row is not null, so it will display this. So the output is 1 10 20 and 10. Okay, now we'll go to the second. So there is only one row, there is not a duplicate. But if we use the lag function and we see the previous row, so the previous row is null, it will not display. Similarly for the third partition, if the previous row is null, it will not display. So at the end we see only one row. So this query is also wrong. The second is use the row number window function with the partition by unique ID column where the row equals to 1. So this is the correct answer. And why this is correct, let me show you. So for the lag window, only this will be the output. Yeah. So we need to use the row number window function and partition by unique ID. So partition by unique ID, okay, first we create a partition by the ID. So one ID number 1, all the IDs number 1 have one in the one partition, all the ID number 2 in the second partition, all the ID number 3 in the third partition, and so on. Now we need to use the row number window function. So what row number function will do is it will assign a unique row number to a particular partition. So so row number is assigned as 1 and row number is assigned 2. Row number is assigned as 1 and row number is assigned as 1. Okay, then we will use the where clause where row equal to 1. Okay, so where row number equal to 1, then we will get only one output. Where row number equal to 1, we will get this output. Where row number equal to 1, we will get this output from this partition. So at the end we get the 3 rows which is desired, and we have removed the duplicates as well. So this is the correct output. So we will use the row number window function by the partition ID, and so D is the correct. Even if you go to the discussion tab, most of the people say that the answer is D. So question number 9. So question number 9 is very easy. So your company is using the wildcard tables, right, to query data across the multiple tables. So if you see my video of the Quick Labs video, so they are also most of the time also I also use the wildcard. So when we wildcard means whether we use the star symbol or the percentage symbol, right? So in the table name, we generally, if we have the same table, if we have the multiple table like table 1, table 2, table 3, table 4, so and we have to query all the tables in a single query. So what I do is select star from table star. So star means it will query all the tables, table 1, table 2, table 3. So they are saying that we are using the wildcard tables, but they are using the below query. But the below query is throwing the error, and error at position this, that is row number 4 and the column number 11. So row number 4, this is the row number 1, then there is a space, that is the row number 2, then this is row number 3, and this is row number 4. And the row number 4 they are getting the error, and why they are getting the error and how we will have to correct it. So first thing is that they mention we are using the wildcard table. So in the table name they are not using any wildcard. First thing is that, and we have to use the wildcard. So how we will use the wildcard, and why they are getting the error, because they have not put the table in the backticks. So they told that okay, we will use these 4 options, but out of this which option is correct? So though none of the option is correct, there is a some syntax error, but we will go with the option number 4, because option number 4, yes. Why option number 4 is because we are using the wildcard. So wildcard, whenever we have to use the wildcard, we use the star, tables GSOD star. So it will cover all the table. So GSOD star, because the first table is not using the wildcard, right? So so first option is wrong. So we have remaining 3 options like B, C, D. Okay, all the B, C, D option are using the wildcard, right? But we are using the wildcard, but we have not close this in a strings, right? So this option is wrong. Second option, we are using the wildcard, but we closed this table name within a string, but we put star outside the code. So this is also wrong. So fourth option is correct. We put this star, okay, correct. We use the wildcard character, and also we use the backtick option, or you can say the quotes option, right? But this is different than the quotes option. Generally it is the backtick option. So so it is the backtick option, and we put the backtick after the star. So this is the correct. So reveal the answer. So the D is correct. Even most of the people say that the option D is correct. Okay, now the last question. So they told that your company is a highly regulated industry. Okay, regulated industry are those industry which generally take care of their data, so where the data is very sensitive, right? So one of your requirement is to ensure individual users have access only to the minimum amount of information required to do their jobs. Okay, you want to enforce the requirement with the Google BigQuery. So there is a one industry and their table exists in the BigQuery, but how we will ensure that like if the individual user access the data within the BigQuery, they only access the minimum amount of information which is only required. So let's suppose if there is a user and they don't want to, they only want to perform the view operation, so they can only perform the view operation, right? So how we can like prevent this? So we have the 6 option available, 6 option, and we have to choose the 3 correct options. So first thing is that disable rights to certain tables. So they told that okay, what we will do is we will disable the rights to the certain table. So disabling the rights to the certain table, it doesn't mean that like we are preventing the, like we let's suppose we have the 1000 tables and we disable the rights to, let's suppose 10 tables. We have the 900 tables, we can write that we can write all the 900 tables, we can view all the 900 tables, right? Even though we want to, as a user, I only want to view the one table, but still I can view all the data, right? So this is not the correct option. The second thing is restrict access to table by role. Okay, that is perfectly correct. So we can restrict the tables by the role. So like let's suppose first we will assign a role to the particular user. So we have like some team, we have the development team, we have the analytics team, we have the admin team, we have the management team, and the let's suppose the analytical team just want to view the data and the management team also want to view the data, right? So we will like assign some role, and on the basis of the role we will like restrict the access. So if we go to the official documentation, so we can controlling the access to the data set in the BigQuery documentation. Under the BigQuery we can how to control the access of the control the access to data sets, right? So we can control the network is disconnected. Okay, no problem. So let me show you, right? So we can control the access on the tables level as well, so on the views level as well in the BigQuery. So we can like perform the ACL operation on the table level as well, so that is perfectly okay. So restrict the access to the table by role. Okay, now ensure the data is encrypted at all times. So if the data is encrypted, so there is no use, right? So of the data, like if we have to see the data, if the actual person who wants to see the data and that is the valid person, so if we encrypt the data, though at the back end at the Google the data is encrypted, but if we even like mask the data, even the front end, and we query the data, we will only able to see the masked data, right? We are not able to see the actual data. So this is not the correct option to prevent the data. That is not related something to the access. The third option is restrict BigQuery API to approved user. So we know like we can access the BigQuery even via the UI, via the command line, via the API. So if someone like try the API, so what we will do is we will like give the API access only to the approved user, so that is perfectly okay. So basically we have to restrict the user, so that only the minimum information is available to the particular user based upon their job's role, right? If a person want the even update access, so we will give the update access, but if a person wants only the view access, we will give the view access. If a person don't want any access, we will not give any access. So restrict the access is perfectly okay, restrict the BigQuery API is perfectly okay. The fifth option says the segregated data across multiple table. This is totally wrong. They told that okay, we have like a data in one table. What we will do is we will create a multiple tables and we will put the data. If whether you will put the data in the multiple tables or not, if you put the data in the multiple tables and if you not restrict that table access, still we can still the individuals can like view the data, right? So segregating the data across the multiple tables can't restrict the users to view the data. So this is totally wrong. the sixth option is use the Google Stackdriver audit logging to determine policy violations. So that is perfectly okay. We will also use the audit Stackdriver policy. What it will do is, so we will enable the Stackdriver in the BigQuery, and what it will do is, like if we found any violation, so it will like show us, it will come into the audit, and we can like restrict the particular access. So B, D and F are the correct options. So if we reveal the answer, B, D, F are the correct answer. And if we go to the discussion tab, so my network is disconnected, okay, no problem. But if we go to the discussion tab as well, so you will found that most of the people say that the B, D, F is the answer. So in this video, like we see the 5 questions. So that is the question number 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. So that's the end of the video.